Hey there, nerds. Jimmy Palmquist here with my son James. And we want to touch a little bit on prejudging things, sort of taking a book by its cover and that's it. No matter what that looks like, oh my God, that's the product. Specifically, we're talking about movie trailers. Let's get into it, James.
Now, it really doesn't help that we have a video series called Trailer Trash Talk, but if you watch any of the videos we make about trailers, we generally just like pick out the things we like about the trailer and we don't assume too much because the whole point of a trailer is to sell an idea. And I have recently noticed that in the zeitgeist of the internet, it is very common that rather than being like, "Ooh, this looks fun," or "Ooh, I'm interested to see where this goes," most people upon an initial trailer will just immediately get negative. And I don't know how else to put it other than it's incredibly frustrating.
And it's funny to see how bad that could potentially hurt the box office for these films. One of the most recent ones was people were decrying the trailer for Minecraft movie, just like, oh my God, this looks so bad, looks horrible, the animation, blah, blah, blah. I just went and saw it, and what an awesome, fun movie. I loved it. And if I listened to people on the internet from just the trailer, I would have never seen it.
And that's an interesting case because the internet like 180'd the second it came out and people saw it, which is even more frustrating to me that you had up until the movie released, people being like, it's not going to be good. It's going to be stupid. It's not going to be worthwhile. And then there's a complete pivot and everybody's like, oh, it's amazing. It's hilarious. It's like, don't be negative about it because then when you pivot, you look like an idiot. And I'm not saying anybody is, but at the same time, it's like, don't immediately assume something's going to be awful just to then 180 when it actually comes out because it's never good for anybody when that happens.
And I guess that's the frustrating part is a trailer is literally a snippet to sell you on what you're going to see. And I guess if you don't like that, then don't go see it. But to me, it's no different. Like people, when It or Dune, the first movies came out, it's like, okay, cool. But how can you judge the whole thing yet when you've only seen one part of the story and you know there's more? It's not like a to be continued as far as dun 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 horror film. We might have another one. It's like, no, no. We all know there's at least a part two to these, so I don't know how you can judge it from just the first one. Well, same with the trailer. You saw 30 seconds, maybe up to 2 minutes of footage that's not even necessarily like Rogue Squadron. Several things in that trailer did not actually make the movie because they had to reshoot things. So it cracks me up when people make these judgments and it's like, on what? You didn't even see the movie yet. This is either to get you excited or, frankly, being my age, the trailers aren't made for me anymore. For a lot of these movies, they're made for younger generations, and I get it. But I hear a lot of people my age be like, "Oh, that movie looks horrible." Well, guess what? It wasn't made for you.
I I don't know if I agree with the movie wasn't made for you, but I do agree that a lot of the marketing is not targeted towards older generations anymore. They want younger generations like myself and others to go to the movies because I mean, come on, Gen Z, please join me. Let's go to the movies. Let's bring it back. I love going to a movie with a bunch of friends, sitting down and watching a movie because it's so fun to do that with people and it's not necessarily social, but it's fun to go to the movies. And I feel like the modern understanding of movie trailers is so far removed from what they used to be. You watch older movie trailers and it literally just it gives you the pitch, the I can't there's a proper name for it, but it's like the two sentences that are supposed to be what a film is about. And
Talk.
that's literally what a movie trailer was. And now they've pivoted more towards like showing that visually. It's more of a artistic thesis statement than it is literally saying the thesis statement with like a narrator for the trailer. But people have somehow taken it as, oh, this is all the movie's going to be. And it's like you can't do that. You can't put it in a box when you don't know the rest of the story. You get, like you said, you get at most 2 minutes, 2 minutes of a story. You can't say, oh, it's just going to be this. And Thunderbolts is a big example. Honestly, most recent MCU films have been an example of this. People got a trailer, and we're like, nope, nope. And they're going off of the fact that a lot of people didn't care for recent Marvel movies. That's a whole rabbit hole I'm not going to get into. But you then also have this idea where this concept where people are just immediately saying something negative because of a track record that doesn't really make sense. And then 180ing when the movie's actually good. Like with Thunderbolts, we just saw this. People didn't know who the Thunderbolts were when the movie was first announced. We got a trailer and everybody was like, well, how are they going to beat this guy? He seems invincible. And then now people are saying it's good. And it's like, thank you, everybody, for like saying it's not going to be good and then getting to the end and 180ing. And it's like, then what was the point of the negativity in the first place?
Well, I will say that I think Hollywood has its own problems because there are several films where the trailers don't necessarily make sense. And the one I'll point to is Sinners. The first trailer for that just looked like a historical bootleggers film. I wasn't exactly sure where it was getting for. And I never, at that first trailer that I remember seeing, thinking, oh, this is a vampire movie. I do remember it. Oh, well, maybe this is getting to horror, but not vampire movie, which clearly is later trailers are showing, and now we know. And obviously, that one has taken off as a box office smash. But I feel like Hollywood sort of dropped the ball with showing us a trailer. It was like, what is this movie? Like, I don't know what this is because I don't feel like they gave you enough information. Not necessarily like, oh, we're gonna hide the twist, which is cool. I don't obviously want to see that trailer, but what is this movie about? I don't even know.
And that's where I do think the new metric of we're going to release a bunch of trailers isn't necessarily healthy because, like you said, with Sinners, the first one you don't really get the vampire stuff. With
Yeah.
the other ones, you kind of see it come through more. So, but it's like you're misleading people by not giving them the thesis statement the first time. And so that initial trailer is really the pitch you want to sell it, while everything else is supplemental trailers. And I get the want to have more trailers out there, so you have more advertising, more clips people can see to drum up interest. But you're also kind of pigeonholing yourself by releasing multiple, because then it's like what you're selling gets a little muddled between what clips you're showing and what you're purposely doing. The art of marketing is brilliant, but just shoving out multiple trailers isn't necessarily the best thing you can do. I really appreciate what Superman has done because they've taken the clips from the original trailer and then they've like sprinkled in 2 or 3 more across the new trailer. So it's basically the same thesis statement of what they're trying to sell with just a few added clips here and there. And it's,
I do
I
feel
mean,
like Hollywood has kind of gotten lazy with that. Like we already have this product. We're just going to cut it down so we can show more of this product and that'll get the excitement and then print off a couple posters. There are some great examples. The Deadpool movies. Ryan Reynolds is a genius when it comes to his marketing. They obviously show you clips from the movie, but there's a lot of other endorsements going on, like Deadpool showing up with other characters or other people in the real world, and they promote his film. This is going back a little bit when Tron Legacy came out. There were some great marketing things going on, trying to reach out, let the community know, but it was very apropos to what Tron is. And then the other one that I really loved was The Dark Knight. When that came out, they did a lot of great on the ground things, digital things with Joker, Batman, both, I believe in Harvey Dent. It was just great marketing, and it went above and beyond just a trailer with some posters. And it was like, I think for the most part, Hollywood is missing that angle. Like Minecraft, that would have been genius. I know, oh, they have a tie-in at McDonald's as your sister got the Happy Meal yesterday, which is cool. But at the same time, it's like, dude, Minecraft is huge online. Why don't we have more going on in that realm, similar to what Tron Legacy did? And I just don't understand why the marketing kind of gets lazy at times.
yeah, and I feel like a lot of it is just selling to the lowest common denominator because it's as time has gone on, it's become more of a business practice rather than an artistic expression. And that was inevitable. And you can still see that kind of business aspect throughout most of film history. But it's really become more prevalent now as not only are theaters dying, please go watch movies in the theaters. Um, it's just becoming less common for people to go when they expect it to be on a streaming site. And it sucks because it's like we are losing the art of the movie theater. And it hurts me because it's such a fun thing to go to the movie theater and watch a movie. And I feel like Hollywood, rather than really trying to like bring back the movie theater, would rather just half-ass their marketing and be like, yeah, whatever. And it hurts. It hurts a little bit as somebody who wants to go and make film. But at the same time, you then have like trailers like the Tron Ares trailer, which are brilliantly done because they don't give you too much. They give you a nice spectacle and they say the thesis statement perfectly with Jeff Bridges being like, there's no going back. But then you have trailers like Sinners where it's like, what the hell is going on here in the first trailer? And then they just shove out more. And there's no press behind it. And I feel like there's no confidence in the film beforehand because especially with the Minecraft movie, they just tossed out trailers and then they really ramped up the marketing after the internet blew up with it. And it's like, have some confidence in the movie you're putting out because you put effort into it and advertise it. Like, sorry, I'm gonna go on a really short rant, I promise. One of the greatest marketing things ever done in the history of marketing ever, in my opinion, is the Final Fantasy VII marketing. Because Sony spent $1 million goddamn dollars to market that game in the US, and it sold gangbusters because they put in the time, they put in the effort, and they had the confidence to sell it like it was going to be a gangbuster game. And guess what happened? It sold amazing. I feel like marketing teams would rather just put out a trailer, be like, okay, cool, we're done, and then see how the movie does later, rather than like really drive home the point, like with Batman or Tron Legacy, where they're really putting in the effort to sell these movies as if they're going to be amazing.
I've never heard of that. What is it? Obviously, they didn't market it to
For the folks at home, he just hates Final Fantasy.
you, and I have played it.
But you have to admit the marketing for that was amazing.
I admit nothing. Anywho, let us know what you guys think. Why do trailers immediately get knocked and then all of a sudden the movie sucks when you're not even seeing a big portion of the movie at all? You're maybe seeing 2 minutes. But let us know in the comments below. And what are some trailers you saw where you were super excited to see the movie and it didn't hold up? Or the other where you're like, this isn't going to be very good. But then you saw the movie like, holy cow, that was great. Let us know in the comments below.
Had to get Prometheus in there. Sorry.
No, let's do one more. I like the reason why I ended that. I was like, I really like your idea of theater versus streaming. Let's go on that route.
Yeah, and it's. I mean,
don't talk.
I won't. Do you want me to intro this one?
Sure.
All right. Woo. Sup, nerds? James here with Nerdler. I'm here with my dad. And today we're going to focus on something a little interesting, which has been a very popular topic of debate in nerd circles, just as we get into the 2020s, is movie theaters versus streaming and all of the stuff that comes with that.
I feel like I have a different perspective than what I'm hearing. I know, like Chase's opinion, he just dabbled his toe into CinemaCon that was out here where they present a bunch of films that are coming out to theater owners. And it's a big deal here in Las Vegas, and it should be a big deal everywhere. But it really got me thinking, what is my preferred way of watching new movies? And to be honest, I love the idea of seeing things in a movie theater. We went and saw Minecraft. We did the 4D immersion thing. Oh my God. I don't know why I do this every time. I'm like, I'm hungry. I'm going to get a hot dog. And I love having popcorn. And then the whole time I'm like jiggling in this seat and then like a freaking blender in my stomach with the food. I'm like, I hate that. Anywho, side rant. But when it comes down to it, like Thunderbolts just came out this weekend, and I'm like, oh, I'm going to go see it. I haven't seen it. And I feel like I just reached this point in my life where I love the convenience of streaming. I grew up with movie theaters, so to me, that's nothing new or retro. I just like the convenience of streaming. But I know the younger generations, at least the one I'm in contact with, would much prefer going to the movie theaters. Let's check in on that younger generation.
Well, I know I am quite the exception to the rule. A lot of my friends and contemporaries aren't movie fans. They're not big in movies. TV shows and reality TV have like had a meteoric rise with Gen Z because, and I'm going to put it this way because I love my friends, but it's mindless slop that can just be put on in the background and nobody has to focus on it. My friends and my peers see movies as something you have to dedicate time to focus on, which is a very positive way to look at things because it's like a book, as it should have been looked at for who knows how long. Same with video games. You are dedicating time to a work of art you are intercepting and interacting with, which means, especially for a new movie, you want to be paying attention to it. You want to be focusing on what's happening in front of you. And for myself and a lot of people, we just don't necessarily have that time budgeted in, or it's not that easy to get to the movie theater all the time, especially if we're like trying to get a group of friends to go, or it's like just one of us want to go, but we may be busy the weekend it comes out and then we just forget. But I know across my friends, it's a lot more fun as a social thing to go and experience a movie together with friends, but it's also just as easy to wait for it to hit streaming and stay home and watch it.
And I feel like I have a lot of rules when it comes to how I'm going to watch a movie. And I know this sounds silly, and this is optimal, folks. We know life gets in the way, so a lot of times, like when Deadpool and Wolverine came out, and that's my favorite character in the whole wide world, and we were driving across the United States in an RV, so I didn't get to see that one opening weekend. Yeah, but for the most part, my rule is if it's a big blockbuster like Star Wars or a Marvel movie, I really want to see that in the theater to get the full experience of the sound as well as the visuals. We have a very nice TV at home. We have a very nice speaker system at home, but that doesn't mean it's necessarily going to give you the full impact of what the director, writer, sound designers, what they wanted when you see it in the theater. I also appreciate seeing in the theater. As you guys may know, I have a wife, I have two kids, and three dogs. And when you watch a movie at home, there is constant interruptions. I have literally seen the movie Wonder Woman 1984. I have not really seen the movie Wonder Woman 1984 because there was all sorts of things going on, and I really don't know if I've understood the movie or not because it was interrupted nonstop. And on that same line of thought, whenever there's subtitles, whether it's TV or a movie, I want to be in a theater because I have no other distractions. If I'm at home and it's a TV series, like The Old Man with Jeff Bridges, I'm on my phone, la 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 la, working on my computer, la la la. All of a sudden, they're speaking Farsi or something, and I look up and I got to read, and I'm like, oh man, I can't. I got to pay 100% attention. I can't do this. So that's another turnoff for me. But that's me. I'm an old man. I get it. I have weird picadillos, but I really pick and choose when I go to the theater and when I don't. And that's not to say Minecraft was the end all be all that I had to see in the theater. That was my daughter's decision. And I'm very glad she made that decision.
And it's Minecraft was just a dumb fun movie. I'm glad I went to go see it. I mean, think about all the dumb fun movies in the 80s that came out. It's like they're not like these incredible works of art, but I will always die on the hill that regardless of what it is, you have to respect any film that comes out as art. You don't have to understand it as art because dear God, that is not what the Minecraft movie is. It's a dumb fun movie that it's just the story of playing Minecraft with your
Well,
friends.
ironically, though, the message in it is be creative.
Which is so funny because it's such a corporatized movie, but that's a completely different discussion. They respected the game and they respected the people that play it and enjoy it. And that's why it took off because people who actually went to go see it loved it because it's just Minecraft.
James, you're just an orb in a square world.
I love that joke. I love that joke so much because it's so stupid.
And the other one I want to bring up, and I'm not sure people got it. You and I were talking about this because we're Swedish. So Minecraft was originally set up by a Swedish company.
Mojo.
And in the movie, there's a joke about, are you finished? No, I think he's Swedish.
Oh,
I died laughing. It was Jennifer
oh,
Coolidge when they're out to dinner. Died
dude,
laughing.
that is by far the best writing I have seen in a comedic movie in a long time.
Exactly. It
And
gave
it's
a nod to its roots. I loved it.
exactly. And I loved like a lot of people said the writing wasn't going to be good. And I'm like, it's either going to be so bad it's funny or it's like genuinely good. And you know what the writing was? Genuinely good.
It was.
Because so many of the jokes landed. My favorite joke in that movie was, I'm sorry to hear about your financial status, Garrett. Shut up, Steve. It's like it's like such a real moment in that movie. Not only are the performances amazing across the board, but it's like Jennifer Coolidge with the villager, and then the Matt Beery cameo. That's comedic genius. I love that. Oh no, I hit you with my Jeep Grand Cherokee. Oh no. It was very much made for my generation, and that's absolutely why it took off.
And I think that goes to more so I feel like the younger generations definitely see a movie theater as an event, and I don't know if, because growing up, that's definitely what it was. Like, I've told you this many a times, mommy makes fun of me all the time. It's like, yeah, my Friday, Saturday night was dinner and a movie, and I really didn't care if I was by myself or with a date or whatever. I wanted to go to the theater, and why not have some food too? And that's what we would do. And it's not like I saw only blockbusters. Like CB4 in the movie theater was amazing because of audience participation. A Quiet Place was an amazing movie theater experience for the exact opposite. No audience participation other than being quiet.
Oh my god, that when we went to go see A Quiet Place 2, like legitimately, I don't jump at horror films a lot. But when we were in there and like the daughter was in the train car and then like the flock of birds, like there's a thunderclap, it's like whoa. And that is one of the best theater experiences I've ever had.
Yes. And so I think on a big level like that, it's definitely the reason to see movies on film. And we'll go back to this. We just saw I keep calling them the unspecial editions. They're the last version of the Star Wars movies produced, or yes, produced on DVD digitally from the original films that were released. And they look like crap. And
Oh.
one of the reasons why they look like crap because it was a straight film transfer to pre HD, so 480p, and it's just not a good transfer. Now, if I saw that same film in a movie theater, it would look way different than the digital transfer. And I know that. Surprise, spoiler alert, I went to film school, so I actually worked with film. I know what film looks like, and I know what film projected looks like versus the digital version. And I'll get even further. I love film when it's shown early. But when you get a movie like a 1978 version of Halloween that's been shown a million times and there's scratches up and down, it's gotten caught in the projector, so you're missing literally seconds to minutes of this film. Yeah, not exactly my favorite. But when you see a pristine print come out and you see film, oh, it's gorgeous. It is 100% worth it. But nowadays, most people say, "Oh yeah, I saw it in the theater. It was on film." It's like you saw it in the theater that it was projected digitally. You did not see a film.
Exactly. And it's very rare to see actual film. Like Oppenheimer had a film release, but if I'm not mistaken, it was only in select theaters for select showings. So it's like film is no longer a common practice purely because of, and I mean this endearingly, how impractical it is in the modern era with all of the digital enhancements we have. And as a filmmaker, it's like I love the visual aesthetic of certain film, like Technicolor. I don't know why, but Technicolor speaks volumes to me as like a piece of film. I love it so much, even if it is like impractical as hell. But I'm not going to film on Technicolor film. I'm going to film digitally and edit digitally because it is so much nicer.
Well, and you can afford it. Trust me. My this is 2000, 2001, 2000. Made a first year film, and it was a 16 millimeter film. I
Ooh.
shot color stock because I do believe in color. And the final product, which we had to, so we shot on film, cut it on film, returned it so that it could get printed on film, and then we got a digital version of it from that. I want to say my first film, which was I want to say maybe 7 minutes, was about $5,000.
Yeah, and that's where I do appreciate the advent of digital filmmaking, because anybody can do it now. You can do it with the freaking phone in your pocket. And that is a powerful thing, that you can make film. The power of film in the palm of my hand. And but I also feel like a lot of people just don't see it as something that's special anymore in that way, because it's like, oh, anybody can do it. That should be awesome. People should be like out there. And I guess that's what the internet is, out there making films, making these creative things. But instead it's seen as like less special for some reason. And I don't get that, because it's like writing a book. Anybody can write a book. I mean, and I hate to use this as an argument, look at all of the smut and the fan fiction that's on the internet. We are storytellers. We love telling stories. But for some reason, it's just not something people actively put effort into. And I have no idea where I'm going with this, because I feel like I'm just going on a complete tangent now.
No,
So
I know
back to the original subject matter.
it's a catch-22 because you have old farts like me who were trained how to do it on the old system of film. So when we do use it digitally, we really keep in mind the film aspect of it, and that it's expensive as hell. Well,
Oh,
we know
yeah.
digital's not, so we'll let things roll a little longer, do an additional take, whatever. But we'll keep in mind that when you shot film, you were very aware of time and money and the actual product of the film. Now, digitally, I think people have never learned on film, or never, more apropos, I think, editing on film. They don't understand that these are decisions you literally have to make. One of the greatest inventions of all time for editing, in my opinion, is Control Z or Command Z, depending on what you're using. The undo feature, because you can see if you like it, and if you don't, boom, go back to what it was. The
Yes.
days of film, you would literally cut into a film. So you destroyed this one thing you shot, you cut it, which you have to edit. But what if you're like, man, what if I kept those 15, 30, 24, whatever frames on there? What if I kept those in? Would it have made a difference? Well, there's only one way to find out. Untape everything, cut it again, tape it back together. Oh, I forgot. Find the actual film strip, which you had originally that was correlated to whatever you want, and it really made you think about the choices, where nowadays you don't really have to, because you can save as, you can edit, you can undo. But I also think with the digital, we have so many new ideas coming out. There is a lot of white noise, so it all kind of blends together, but you get so many crazy things. I never get the name of this movie right, but Every Which Way, Everywhere, Money.
Oh, everything, everywhere, all at once.
Exactly. I don't know if that film would have been released if not for digital, just because, one, the expensiveness, but it's such an out there idea. Yes, we have like Buckaroo Banzai Across the Eighth Dimension, and that's a weird one. But it's just, I think the digital advent has allowed creators to really explore creativity in a way they've never been able to. And you couldn't do it with film, or you had to find new ways to do it with film that now anybody has access to, literally.
And it's like I don't disagree if you want to shoot on film. I personally will not do it, because that is a lot of effort and time I do not want to put in, because I have this. And you know what's awesome about post? You can just literally digitally make it look like film. It's not that hard. But at the same time, I appreciate the artistic value of film and the choice to use it. But I can also just put it on film later. And it's what the amazing thing with digital is that it allows people to spend more time on a take and spend more time making things look nice. And it saves time having to deal with physical medium, whereas all you have to worry about is how much storage space you have on whatever you're filming with. I keep grabbing my phone. I wish I had like an actual camera to demonstrate. But the only issue now is the space you have on whatever storage you're using, which now is digital. And so that allows so much more freedom to play with what you want to do and figure out how you're going to go about a shot, which is like you said, with everything, everywhere, all at once. So much of that movie is just what wacky, goofy crap they could come up with, because they had the space to do it. They didn't have to worry about the constraints of film. They didn't have to worry about time and money. They could experiment with the digital cameras.
Mhm.
And I feel like for some reason in some people's heads, it's like diluted the meaning of filmmaking. in that it's like, oh, we're not using film. Oh, we're not doing this the classic way. It's like, hey, we're not scribing books using monks who are listening to what people are orating to them and then writing it down as a manuscript. We're not doing that anymore with books. We have printing presses. We have digital books, and yet people still look at books the same way. So it hurts me that like film has seen a different progression where it's almost as if it's less special to, I guess, the film bros at this point, that it's like not on film, and it's like, who cares? It's a movie.
That's one of my other arguments, and it's terribly annoying, is when you have the people who are staunch supporters of film and they go, in my opinion, go too far. It's like, yes, film is very beautiful, but most theaters don't have film projectors anymore, so it's hard to have access to. On the
Not
flip
to
side, most things aren't shot on film anymore, so that's also hard to access. And then there's no reason to spend the money for the film most times. Christopher Nolan is an exception. He likes to shoot on IMAX, which is gorgeous, and it's a 70 millimeter film at least, meaning it's that much more information going on that little piece of film, and it's beautiful. Now he's got to find not only that, he's got to get it transferred to digital so he can edit it. And yes, I agree. He likes to use practical effects, but he does have special effects in there. Not
not
to
to
mention
mention,
just the things
oh
you don't
sorry.
even think about with the digital sound and the digital coloring, all these little things that have nothing to do with actual special effects per se. But then at the end of the day, a large portion of the population, how are they going to watch this movie?
Digitally.
On your phone or a small device, tablet, or even a TV. So that film that was shot on 70 millimeter, which is huge and gorgeous and saturated with all sorts of information and colors, is now being seen on a screen that's what, like 2 by 3 inches. It's like, come on, that's ridiculous to be like, oh, everything has to be on film when the final product isn't even seen in a way that will benefit the film.
Exactly. And it's like, I hate using this argument because, again, I get the artistic value of film, and I'm not going to stop anybody from shooting on film. But I could also literally just go into Premiere Pro and like fiddle with some settings and make it look like film, and a decent amount of people would be none the wiser. And it's just that it's like we live at a time where we can emulate it digitally. So there's not much of a need to shoot on film unless you're using like IMAX, like the best possible film you can get. And even then, it's like I'd rather just shoot digitally. I'd rather just shoot digitally. And if, like, say I want to put it in black and white, I'd rather just fiddle with the color settings in post because I can make it look nicer and I can control the chromatic values rather than hoping and praying. Like, and this is where color grading, my God, people who color grade are saviors of the cinematic world because, God damn, the amount of work you have to do to make sure everything looks right for when you're filming is so much. And color graders are amazing. I love you guys because they've had to do so much work. Like if you watch any black and white film, The Blood in Psycho, it's chocolate milk because actual red stuff doesn't look like blood on black and white film. But digitally now, I don't have to worry about that. I can put it in post and then fiddle with the black and white values until I get it looking like what I want it to. And that's nothing against color graders. Color grading is necessary for film. But at the same time, it's not as stringent now that we have like the digital era where I can just go in and fiddle with it to get it to look like what I want.
Well, that's very true. It's been a long time since been on a set, but I'd be curious to go back and see exactly how much cinematography in reality. I've seen like the behind the scenes thing of The Mandalorian and the technology they use on shooting that is unreal. But legitimately, with these big blockbusters nowadays, being a cinematographer on set and you are worried about the visuals you see in the camera, but then you're also worried about visuals you don't see in the camera because you have a lot of blue green screen in the background. That's obviously not there at the moment. So yeah, it's been a long time since I've been on a set. So it'd be interesting to see how they do that nowadays, because you are digital, and I can almost guarantee once that gets put in the computer and they put the background in, it's adjusted, meaning they're not like, oh, this was perfect from the beginning. It's like, no, I bet you they fiddle with it left and right as far as what they actually are going to put in the background, what was thought to be in the background. And it's just another layer of editing that didn't exist really with true just film.
Yes, and I can say someone who has participated in making a few independent films, which is to say, like 7 minute long short films with friends. Cinematography has not been the heaviest weight thing on the directors I've worked with as my peers. They're more focused on getting the shot done in the first place. And I feel like in that way, cinematography to a lot of people has kind of fallen to the wayside because they're just like, we'll get the shot to work. And I'm like, I don't know if I agree with that because I know when I make film and when I want to make film, in my head, I know exactly how I want it to look. I know the intent behind the scene. And it's like, I've never been to film school. So if you want to get mad at me, you can say I'm talking out my ass. But I know the principles behind why a shot is composed the way it is. A character walking from right to left, and I'm pretty sure it's going to look mirrored when I do this, so I look like an idiot. I set it backwards from left to right. We see that as progression and character growth. Because when a character moves across the screen this way, especially to an audience that reads left to right, we see it as progression and move forward movement. When a character moves from right to left, we see it as backwards regression. And these things matter when you go to actually shoot a scene and have shot composition. Look at any film ever. Look at the ratio of how it's shot. Like if you ever look at a camera, you have the two lines here, the two lines here, because those are the guiding lines that help you shoot something. And it's like there's so many little things that are done in film that anybody can pick up on. And like I love playing this game with my friends. Anybody can pick up on those little things, and it's what makes a shot that much more significant because you had the cinematographer saying it should be positioned more like this or like this, and then you had the director working with them being like, okay, I agree with this. And I feel like that choice to a lot of people is a lot less prevalent. I mean, one of my biggest examples is Star Wars. Yeah, A New Hope. It's not meant to be that cinematographically complex, but look at the way it's framed. Look at some of the most important shots taken. Luke looking at the Tatooine sunset. That is framed in such a way that he is looking, and this is what I love so much, that he is looking from the left of the screen to the right. And that shows he is about to go on a big journey. And then you have it framed, and I may be remembering this incorrectly, where he's like standing on like the left of the screen as the suns are setting to the right. And it's like that to anybody who knows how shot composition works communicates that he is about to go on a journey of character growth. And I just don't know if cinematography is that important to people making films for a large audience anymore. And I could be talking out my ass. I am not a part of the film industry in a major way, but a lot of my peers who I have made short films with don't really focus on that aspect of it as a communication to the audience. But I mean, we're also not making anything complex. So yeah, I might just be talking out my ass here.
It's funny, when I went to film school, almost like Platoon, the movie, had two instructors that were very influential, and they respected each other greatly, but they were at odds with the process. And one was Richie Sherman, who was director of photography, and he let it be known that as a director of photography, you don't let anybody else look through your camera lens. Directors and all that, they're looking at the performance of the monitors. There's nobody else that needs to look through the camera lens, right? And then one of my favorite teachers, and he's a good friend now, John Butler, who was just the ultimate guru when it came to sound. Anything involved with sound, he was amazing. And I was a sound guy as far as what my talents were. So you have to look through the camera lens to see what sounds you need to record. And it was like, but Richie said no, only directors of photography. He's like, but how do you know what sounds you need unless you look through the camera to see what they're filming? What if you get recording of a frog by a swamp, but you're facing the other way and all you're getting is buildings in the city? The frog sound makes no sense. And I'm like, oh my God, I'm just going to have to fight with every director of photography, right? And
Exactly.
it became a running joke between me and my peers. And I honestly don't know if other schools taught this. I never reached a level of production where I was the head sound guy, so I was like, "Hey, cameraman, let me look through your camera." Never got to that point. So I don't know, but I just remember learning that and be like, "Damn." So I got to fight with the camera guy.
And I know I'm a director. I hate to admit this. I know I'm an auteur, which if you know like Christopher Nolan or Stanley Kubrick, that's who they are. They need the control of seeing the camera and things work. And that's not the same as the sound guy, but it's like I know every part of filmmaking must be respected. Light has my admiration because the work that goes into balancing lighting is so damn hard. Like Black Panther is one of the best movies I point out for lighting because the amount of lighting work they had to do to get it right, especially when you have like dark characters on a dark background, God, that is a nightmare for lighting. Or when you have somebody like myself who is a giant reflector, you have to like get the lighting values right. And so people who do light have my instant admiration because the amount of like stuff they have to fiddle with to get it to look right. Not to mention, if any of you have filmed on a camera with moving things with light, oh my God, if something gets goofed, you're going to get like a moment where you're flashbanged because the luminosity values of the camera change. And you're like, and it's just awful. Sound people, oh my God, I am not a sound person. I don't think I ever want to touch sound. But the people who do sound are so damn dedicated because holding a boom is like awful. Lavaliers are like the worst thing to set up because if anything goes wrong, you might lose a lav. And it's like, well, there goes an entire mic system. And not to mention, you have to hide it. And like hiding it is easy in a stage performance, it is not easy in film. And then there's just like all of the aspects of like, okay, well, we have to consider that there's like a sound coming from over there, or like the wind's blowing in, or this room has like an ambiance that we need to capture. So we get like dead noise so that we can put underneath the track so it doesn't sound weird when we have like a quiet moment of nobody talking. And there's a lot that goes into sound that I adore and appreciate and will probably never touch a day in my life unless it's in editing. And then there's directing, which is like not only do you have to manage the actors, if you're an auteur, you're like also focused on how the camera looks. You're focused on how that looks. Cinematography, oh my God, the amount of work that goes into that, because not only do you have to work with the director, you have to work with the camera person. Camera work, holy crap, that's a whole thing in and of itself because you have like long shots. And my God, the camera people who do long shots, that shit's hard. So please, anytime you see a long shot in film, just remember somebody had to hold the camera while doing that or man the camera while doing that. Like my favorite example is the La La Land one, where it's like the dude with the camera and they have someone tapping his shoulder so you can like switch between Emma Stone and Ryan Gosling. And it's like, that's dedicated work. It's just, there's so much that goes into it. And I don't know if it's necessarily, and I've never been on a professional film set. I don't know what it looks like, but I feel like there's a lot more emphasis on post-production in a lot of big movies. And I don't know how to feel about that.
It's definitely different. Yeah, I will say that the only time you really notice sound, being a sound guy, is when it's bad. So when it's
Yes.
bad, you're like, "Oh my God, this is the worst." Otherwise, if you don't notice it, perfect. One of my biggest examples, I love the movie Underworld. Yes, it's a goofy movie with vampires and werewolves that's totally better than Twilight. But there is one particular scene. I have no idea why this was never fixed. I can't even tell you exactly what time in the movie it is, but it's when the young head vampire comes back to the mansion and he's pissed off and he comes around the table and all of a sudden, I don't know if they lost audio. I don't know if the audio guy died that day. I don't know what happened, but they clearly have like some kind of security footage audio that just does not match the scene before it and the scene after it. It's like, oh my God, this is horrible. And it sticks with me. How old is that movie? And that's the part that sticks with me. It drives me
And
nuts.
and it's like I'm an actor, so I love watching performances. Watching a bad performance is hard, but watching a good performance where like there's a tiny slip up and it was never fixed is like, oh, like Godfather's an amazing movie. There's a scene, and you've pointed this out to me, and I can't ever unsee it again. There's a scene where James Caan's character is, what's his
Funny.
character's name? Sonny. Sonny's beating the crap out of a dude, and he whiffs a stage punch, like this much space. And it is so obvious on a rewatch. And it sucks because it's, being an actor, I know what stage combat looks like. Most things I've seen, I know it's fake. I recently rewatched Solo for my Star Wars movie marathon. The scene after Rio and the Beckett's love interest, when they pass on a failed mission, Beckett, Woody Harrelson gets up and like punches Han, but it's so obvious it's fake because I know it's a stage punch. But even then, it's like you can tell they shot it that way, so it looks like it. But Han's reaction is just slightly off to the point where it's like it doesn't look like they made contact, and that's a big thing. That it's like if you whip it, it's not gonna look good, and it's gonna be obvious, and it doesn't ruin the movie, but it's definitely a moment where it's like, oh.
Well, it
And
takes you out of the movie so that you're now thinking about how fake that punch looked versus,
exactly.
damn, Beckett just hit Solo. Wonder what's going to happen next.
And it's like, even with movies where it's so well put together, like Interstellar, I know there's like a specific scene I can't remember where something got goofed, and I'm like, well, I see they goofed there. And it's just, I don't know. I love watching movies where I can see every design of production and like all the different aspects, because I can literally like recreate in my head how they put that scene together. But it only takes me out of it when there's a horrendous error that I'm like, oh, that is not good. And it's, I mean,
one of my favorite examples, just to interrupt you real quick.
No, go ahead.
I have not seen it in a long time as far as the version that'll show this. So I don't know when and where they changed it. But in The Wizard of Oz, when I was growing up, it started as, oh my gosh, did you see the scene where one of the Munchkin extras hung themselves in the back and you could see them swinging? And then you get older and you realize that's not what it was. I can't remember exactly what it was, but somebody fell.
I think it was like a light or something.
Yeah, I can't remember exactly. But they digitally altered it so it's not there anymore. And it's the scene, I believe, after they get the Tin Man, and then they're all going up the yellow brick road, and far off in the distance in a tree, you used to be able to see something just kind of out of place because it shouldn't have been moving at all, something swinging back and forth like a dark object, like a shadow. And last time I looked, because it's always on TV, and it wasn't there, and they quote unquote fixed it. And that's a bummer, because then this mythology or almost Mandela effect, it's like, wait a minute, did I make that up? No, I remember seeing that.
And it's like when we were watching the theatrical releases of Star Wars, it's like, I love Star Wars. It was a lot of fun to watch those because I could see all the design and production aspects. But I could also see the blue screen artifacts. And it's like, it is horrendously obvious that most of this crap was blue screened. And it's like, you can see the outline, you can see like the color errors, and there's nothing wrong with that. It's just a lot harder to enjoy the film as a Star Wars movie when you're like, oh, they goofed it. Oh, they goofed it. Oh, they goofed it.
And that's what we were trying to say, is we're not knocking the original Star Wars movies. This was 1977. Pre-production and all that, I want to say even went 1974 earlier, and they did not have the technology. Literally, Lucas invented a lot of this technology, so we get it, guys. But what we're commenting on is what we see today versus what was then. And oh my Lord, I think people have this idea of what the original Star Wars looks like. Whatever you think it looks like, it's not it. It's not it. I was floored to rewatch this version.
And it's like, I don't dislike it, but I also recognize it's like, I'd rather watch the digital re-releases because they've fixed a decent amount of the artifacts, and R2-D2 isn't black because of the blue screen stuff, which was the funniest thing to me, because there's a scene in episode 4 where they forgot to fix R2's colors and he's still black in space. And it's like, oh, somebody goofed. But it's like 2001: A Space Odyssey, and that uses complete practical effects. But when you have Poole, is that the dude's name who gets stranded outside? I think it's Poole. It's like there's this scene where he's like struggling, and it looks like he's struggling in the vacuum, but it's so clearly not that. but it's like it doesn't take me out of the rest of the film. Tron, this is one of the greatest examples of like, I love 1982 Tron. It is genuinely one of my favorite films of all time. Yeah, I can see every single error in post. I can see all of the clippings. I can see the matte painting issues. Doesn't mean I like it any less because I am still in the world of Tron. I still love it like that. Honestly, rewatching the prequels, I don't like 2 and 3 because of how obvious the CG errors are. And it's like, I love 1 because they tried their best to use practical effects, or when they were doing CG, it's fast moving, so it's really hard to tell. 2, it's like the clones. I do not like the CG clones. It bothers me out the wazoo to see the CG clones.
Well, let me give you a little dose of history. I'm not sure you knew this. In 1999, Phantom Menace, Lucas wanted to shoot everything digitally. Technology didn't exist. He wanted to project everything digitally.
Oh,
Technology
no, no,
didn't
no,
exist.
no.
So he shot film, edited on digital. One of my favorite moments of that pre-production was they hadn't cast Qui-Gon yet, but they built the sets, and then they cast the giant known as Liam Neeson. So they're like, "Fuck, we got to extend these sets because we have everything blue screen." So they had to make him bigger because he's so big.
Yeah.
But when it came around to Attack the Clones, he shot it digitally. Everything
Yes.
was digital. Then when he got to Revenge of the Sith, technology got even better. Everything was digital. And this is where he was making a push in 2002 to have all theaters digital projection so that he could show his best movie, so to speak. And the prequels, I think a lot of people know this now, but it was also what he wanted to show then. He wanted to show what ILM could do as far as digital special effects and almost like a marketing tool. And in 1999, 2002, 2005, that technology was amazing.
Oh
Now,
my God.
unfortunately for
Yes.
Lucas, that same year, 1999, the Wachowski brothers at the time, sisters now, made Matrix, and that was an amazing use of digital and practical effects with a lot of the stunts. So it kind of overshadowed what, in my opinion, what Phantom Menace did with all digital. But one of my favorite comments is when ILM worked on the first Iron Man movie, and John Favreau was like, I don't like this digital effect here. It doesn't look right. And they're like, well, that's actually a practical effect. That's four guys on set. He's like, oh, okay, good, 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 good. Let's move on. It's like, yeah, that's how good ILM had gotten that he couldn't tell the difference between a digital effect and a practical effect.
Yeah.
And that's all because Lucas has just pushed the envelope of what filmmaking should and could be. And in my opinion, seeing the behind the scenes on how they filmed The Mandalorian when George Lucas came on set, and they're basically in a huge warehouse and showing desert scenes, and you have a camera that's keeping its eye and being able to motion the background so it's all seamless. That's exactly what George Lucas was trying to accomplish when he made Star Wars. And that's now what we have with that kind of. I'm not saying all things should be filmed that way, but it certainly allows us to go to galaxies far, far away that we wouldn't be able to do because you can only shoot so many times in Tunisia and make it look different, or shoot in the Arizona desert and make it look different. It's like that's why we only have one Ice Planet movie, because it was a pain in the ass to get to Finland like that. And practical versus digital, sometimes digital wins out.
Yes, and that's I mean, Cloud City is the perfect argument.
Oh, yeah.
It's like I love in the theatrical release the introduction to Cloud City because it looks stunning in the original theatrical release. But they made it look better with the CGI and the updated visuals
It
in the
really
new release. And it's like I can't argue with that because it looks better because they updated it and fixed it. But it's like I also have preferred aesthetics. This is going to be universal across anybody who watches film. Everybody has their own preference for what they want to see in movies. I will always be someone who's like, I want to see practical effects as much as possible. And that's just me. That's me personally. I don't disrespect CGI. I think CGI is one of the greatest advents to filmmaking ever because it allows us to do so much more. I love Marvel movies. I like the CGI they do. But at the same time, it's like when I watch the prequels, I can see a lot of CG. And it's like yes, Lucas pushed the envelope, and I am so thankful that he did that because we would not have modern CG without the work he's put in for decades. But I like Phantom Menace the most because it has the least amount of CG being used to enhance things. And there's a point at which I'm like, I am just watching people on a blue screen with mats do stuff, and I don't know how to feel about that. Like, it's hard for me to explain because I don't want to sound hypocritical because CG is such a beautiful thing. But when I can see it and when I know it's there, it's like, I don't know how to feel about it. I'll watch the prequels. Again, Phantom Menace is my favorite, and they use heavy CG in that one, especially during the pod racing, and then this is pod racing, the starfighting, and the Palace of Naboo is entirely CG. Well, except for the floors, but go watch the behind the scenes for those movies. It's genuinely amazing. But it's like I don't know how to describe it when it's like I don't care for the CG clones. I get the point. I don't care. But at the same time, Lucas just wanted to push the envelope. And I don't disagree with that. I cannot disagree with someone who wants to push the limits of technology. And you know what? That's what Star Wars has been. Pushing the envelope of what technology can do and showing people how impressive things can be with the technology they have and then making it even better. And you know what? Yeah, Star Wars is a technical showcase. And I'm not going to disagree with that. I'm not going to disagree with that part of it. But I also like it when there's stories told with Star Wars. I'm a writer. I like the story part of it. That's the biggest thing I focus on. And it just I don't know. I'm losing the train of thought here, but it's like,
Well, let me jump in for a
yeah,
second then.
please.
I do think that we, with the advent of more digital practical effects, and that obviously we changed the subject from streaming to from theatrical releases to streaming, but when you have, like, I recently read an interview from Christopher Reeve, and he's talking about the first Superman and Superman 2 movies, which were basically shot back to back. Richard Donner got fired. It's a whole awesome story. Go read it. But he said that was really when they were trying to learn how to fly, but make it look realistic. So when him and Lois Lane are up in the sky doing their whole dance thing, whatever, in reality, Christopher Reeve and Margot Kidder got their asses kicked because they had so many braces on, so many wires and stuff, and they said it was physically hard and dangerous. On the movie, I think it was Ian Flux, Charlize Theron, with a practical effect, broke her back just because she was doing a stunt with guide wires and all that, and it was dangerous.
If I can
So I
hop
think,
in,
yeah, go ahead.
I just want to say 2001: A Space Odyssey. If any of you have seen the airlock scene where Bowman is like catapulted into the airlock, he almost died, and they almost lost a camera because the way they shot it is he literally just falls into that set. And with Inception, the rotating hallway, they had to reshoot that so many times. But it's just
And
one
this is another
toss
bad
it in.
example because George Miller chooses a lot of practical effects. But if you ever watch his first two movies, I don't know how nobody died. I know somebody did get hurt severely, but he was beating the shit out of his stuntmen and actors. And it was awesome to some awesome effect. But holy crap, would CG have saved people's lives and bones and retirement? And yeah,
Thank God he had a doctorate as like an
yeah.
actual doctor.
Exactly. He was literally an ER doctor. But then on the flip side, we are able to have movies like Pitch Black. And I'm not saying that's the end all be all, but when that came out in the early 2000s, it was like, oh my God, this is a heavy science fiction movie that works because we can use cheap special effects CG and not have just a horrible looking 2001 made in 2000. So it shouldn't look like that. It should look good, but it doesn't because they had to use practical effects.
And then on the other
So,
end, you have Sin City, which is one of the greatest uses of a green screen ever. Like so much of that film was shot like Star Wars, or I think The Hobbit was a lot of green screens. It's like they did it so well, and it's so put together. And it's like I don't like CG when I can tell it's CG out there. And this is going to sound hypocritical because I love the newer Marvel movies because some of the visual effects are stunning. Eternity in Love and Thunder, one of the greatest like visual effects CG based I have ever seen. Any of the palaces of Coruscant in the prequel trilogy, eh, eh. And I also just don't, the visual aesthetic of the prequel trilogy is not my thing. And it just comes down to like personal attachment to it. And I guess that's where this really comes down to, is that it's like, as an artist, that's not visually appealing to me. And I'm not saying it's bad. It is beautifully done. Mustafar is one of the most impressive CGI practical sets I have ever seen, because the amount of work they did to marry the two. But I prefer Naboo and like episode 1. And it's just a personal preference thing. And I don't know how to characterize it other than in Revenge of the Sith, when Anakin's going up those stairs to see Palpatine at the opera, it's like, it's clearly CGI panning. And it's like, it takes me out of it for a second, because it looks like those goofy, if you've ever seen it on the internet, like the 3D animated stuff that like people purposely make it look goofy. It's like, I can't not giggle a little, because it looks a little goofy.
Well, it's hard to believe that was 20 years ago.
I know. And I will argue, Jesus, 20 years ago, I will always defend the opening scene of Revenge of the Sith, because god damn it, that is one of the most beautiful CGI openings ever created. Holy crap. And that's where you can tell, it's like you go from Revenge of the Sith, which is like the best practical version of that, where Return of the Jedi, where you have like the best practical use of that. You have so many moving elements, and it looks, in the theatrical release, it looked amazing. In the digital upscales and re-releases and whatnot, it looks amazing. To then have Revenge of the Sith, where it's like, holy shit, this is incredible. To then Rogue One. And I know people have their reservations about Rise of Skywalker, but damn, they did great on Exegol with all of the CGI ships. But they were so brilliant with it because they also had it all foggy, so they obscured it. And but it's like the fight over Scarif is one of my favorite star fights in Star Wars, because it is so visually stunning. And I'm a bit of a physicist. Seeing all of like the physics work they kind of like put into it, amazing. And yeah, I'm gonna make more of the Fandom Menace angry. I think the Holdo maneuver is one of the greatest CGI shots ever constructed in all of Star Wars, because that moment where it fucking hits the ship and it's like, holy fuck. And hey, assholes, do you know how much sound happens in space? And you know what's amazing about film? Sorry, I'm gonna get on my high horse for a minute. It's called sound design because people design it by choice. The whole point of hearing the TIE fighters and the X-Wings in anything in the original trilogy is that it was enhancing what we understood. Don't watch Star Wars without sound. It sucks. It is like the worst experience ever. The whole point of it going quiet at that is an artistic choice. Choosing to tear it apart with logic is consonant to the whole point of filmmaking. But back to the original point. I love that scene. And the people who say it's not physically possible, shut up. Do you know how much energy it takes to transcend dimensions? Which isn't warp space a completely different dimension or something like that?
If you're talking warp, you're on Star Trek. That's different.
Okay, my bad. Light speed. Yeah, somebody like made a CGI one where it just like phases through the ship and nothing happens. It's like, that's not, light speed is literally the speed of light.
Yeah.
And it's I don't know. That's a whole different issue.
Well, and it's like, funny because we do have different versions of, like, Marvel has their little space jumps, windows, whatever those are, which I take more to be like wormholes. Star Trek and the Paramount CBS universe has warp speed, which I'm sure somewhere it's defined with all the Star Trek nerds. I don't know what exactly that's defined as far as how fast you're going. But light speed is pretty basic. You are going the speed of light or faster.
Yeah. So. I mean, literally in the first movie, he says like what, 0.5 past the speed of light, past light speed. It's like, they are literally like, they can't do it when a physical object is in front of them because they will collide with it. That's the whole point. And I get so mad when people are like, that shouldn't have happened. It's like, are you stupid? Do you not understand what the speed of light is? Like, so many people make fun of like the grain of sand at the speed of light thing. It's like, okay, that's basically a gamma particle and it will kill you. And that scene is so visually amazing. I don't care what anybody says. I don't care what anybody thinks. That moment where you have the ship and like you're expecting this big climactic bit of music because that's what John Williams in Star Wars is. You get the climax of the music, you get this epic moment, and it just goes dead silent. And that's honestly one of the best uses of the betrayal of expectation in any film ever is that you just dead silence because it is horrific. The idea that something that big can hit something that big that fast and literally tear it to pieces. And they did it so well. And the sound design, or lack thereof, is so well done. And I feel like people just want to complain because, oh, the prequel trilogy. Shut up. Shut up. You've hated it long enough. We've hated the prequels long enough. Why don't we start being positive?
I do feel like, and this is maybe being the old man or being the history major and not getting his due, whatever. I do feel like as a cinephile, there's a lack of appreciation for the history of film. And I'm even going back because this is again, this is what you learned in film school, and it's fascinating. Would I have sought these out myself? No, probably not. But when you see the Lumiere brothers and their flight to the moon, and you're like, oh my God, this is like late 1800s, early 1900s, and they are showing their depiction of a rocket going to the moon. Guess what, folks? It was going to be another 69 years or so before that actually happened. So it's funny, it's goofy, but at the time, it was special effects. One of my favorites was Runaway Train. They would literally set up a screen in a pub, a bar, wherever in the United States, and they would show a train moving towards the projection screen. People had never seen this, so they're jumping out of the way thinking this train is going to hit them. That's
Exactly.
baffling to me now because we're so used to moving pictures. But back then, they didn't know that. So there's been leaps throughout history. D.W. Griffith was known for making longer form movies. He's known for, unfortunately, Birth of the Nation, but a lot of other ones where he took the medium to be this little short one reel to longer things that we could actually tell a story. And then the
Exactly.
Germans in the 1930s were beautiful with the films they made. Dr. Caligari, oh my goodness, using black and white early horror, not really meant to be horror, but definitely horror in the aesthetic that they were showing. Beautiful. Just going on, I know it's a huge leap to now, like Jaws, Psycho, Wizard of Oz. Wizard of Oz is beautiful. Whether you like the story or not, I don't care. It's beautiful in that it starts with this black and white sepia tone, and then we get into this wonderful world of Oz, and it's just beautiful colors. And they use that storytelling just perfect. And then when we get back to Kansas, back to the sepia tones. And it's like, wow, fascinating choices that you're making then. And like I said, Jaws, if we had CG at the time, we wouldn't have had the story because Jaws became what it was because the damn mechanical shark didn't work.
Yeah,
So
because Bruce is being a little bitch.
they use this monster in theory versus actually showing you. So your brain creates something that's far worse than anything you could do digitally. So if we had the ability to use digital effects at the time, I'm not sure Jaws would be the movie it is today. But
And
then we
yeah,
look at one of the very first CGs that was really freaking impressive, T2. It's like, oh my gosh, you have this guy who's liquid metal and you're showing him being liquid metal. When I look at it now, boy, at the time, it was like, I have never seen anything like this. But probably the biggest example, again, it doesn't hold up as well, but it's still nostalgia wise, because I was there when it happened, seeing it. Jurassic Park. The first time we ever see a digital dinosaur, up until that point, stop motion. It was always going to be stop motion, claymation, whatever. Thank you, Phil Tippett, for your years of hard work, but you sucked at the dinosaur wrangler. You let them all out. But it was not. It was CG, and you see this huge brontosaurus, and you're like, oh my God, we have never seen anything like that on a movie screen. And here we are. Does it hold up now, like 30 years later? Not great. We know it's dated, which is why I think we got dinged so hard when we were commenting on the Star Wars movies, the unspecial editions. They don't hold up because they haven't been given that digital touch to make them like what we see today. It's almost like I love The Legend of Zelda. I went back and played it. Oh my
oh,
God, did I hate it. Why?
Yes.
Because I've gotten so used to a directional pad that goes 360 any way I want, to now I'm stuck on this grid 4 ways.
Exactly.
Can't shoot, can't do things that I'm used to. I did not enjoy it as much as my memory had me enjoying it. And I feel like that's what people are saying with Star Wars. Like, we're knocking the original trilogy. It's like, no, we're knocking the quality of the product we saw compared to the quality of the product we see today. And I feel like that's where a lot of people who enjoy movies don't necessarily know the history of film and how we got to where we are. And it was a long process. And one of my favorite examples was no, I'm sorry, Martin Scorsese. I will always shoot on film, 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 film. And he is. He's a great film historian. He knows ungodly things about film. But now he's made this conversion where he's like, you know what? Digital's not so bad. It's not the evil empire that I had portrayed it to be.
And I really like the point you made that a lot of people who watch film, and I'd love to toss it in there, play video games or read books, they don't know the history of any of those art forms. And so they kind of are just like, when they watch an old film, like, oh, it looks old. It's like, okay, let's put some respect on the people who had to figure out this shit when it happened originally. I know 2001 can look really goofy at times because it was made in the late 60s. So it has some moments that are like, ooh. But the fact that they made it work, the fact that the people put in the time and effort to make a space odyssey happen in 1968-69 is one of the most impressive things to me. And I love it because it is so willing to push the envelope and try as hard as it can to do something with that is amazing to me. THX. I love THX because Lucas managed to make a visually stunning dystopian sci-fi film with like nothing, essentially. It like he made it work. Tron, I will always bring this up. I know a lot of people who enjoy 82 Tron because it's fun and silly. It's visually beautiful, and I will die on that hill. Even today, I still think it's one of the most visually beautiful films ever made. Yes, it's obvious where there are visual effect errors, but that doesn't degrade the quality. And you have to recognize the effort and the brilliance of what they did to make it work.
Well, jumping in on that real
Yeah,
quick, the team that made 2001, a lot of that team went on to make Star Wars less than 10 years later. And look at the advancements they made from 2001. Now, a lot of them were artistic choices, like Lucas wanted a space that was dirty, meaning a universe that was dirty and used, versus 2001, which we wanted it a clean environment. So a lot of those were just aesthetic, but they went from 10 years before making a really good space opera that hadn't been seen like that to, wow, an even better action space opera. Because of the things we'd learned in 2001, we were able to transfer those and keep that knowledge going and building upon it. And you can tell it's beautiful.
I mean, I'd love to bring up Alien. You don't see the xenomorph a lot, and that's by design because the whole point is that it plays on your understanding of what it is. Same with Jaws. That's like a universal horror thing. You shouldn't see the killer until it's absolutely necessary. It's why the first Friday the 13th is absolutely brilliant in that aspect, which I won't spoil it. Go watch it. It's amazing. It'll betray your expectations and you'll love it if you like horror. People don't study the history of film, and it hurts me because it's like, I feel like if you want to enjoy film in any capacity, you should at least know some of the history. And same with video games. It's like, I do not like the NES era. I have played Metroid and I beat it. I have played Zelda and I got like halfway through, and I have played Mario Bros. And I beat it. I'm not touching anything else because the NES era, well, with the exception of the Final Fantasies, the NES era is rough. It was early gaming and we had to learn how to adjust. Is it better than Atari? God, yes, but not by much. I prefer the SNES era because they had really like started to figure their shit out. And then you get to the N64 era and it's a little weird, but it's like, I know the history of gaming, so I can appreciate where we started and how far we've come. I feel like a lot of people who watch film don't know where we started, don't know how we got here, and are just like, oh, cool, we're here now.
I think the nerd police are coming for you because you're talking out your ass. So if you lived during the era, and my first video game console was the Intellivision, thanks, Pops. Oh my God, it was like a telephone with numbers and a dial. It was weird. I don't even remember how you use it. I just remember playing like Battleship and football and
didn't I
punching in
just
numbers.
say it was rough?
And then Atari, which was a huge step up because it was a joystick, and Frogger and Pac-Man and Pitfall. Awesome. And then when the NES came out, oh my God, I'm in heaven. This is way better. The graphics are amazing. I get to do Excite Bike. I get to do Kung Fu. I get to do Mario and Zelda. No, it was a huge leap from the Atari.
No, and I agree with that.
Now that I go back, and I have fond memories of sitting in my basement. As I've said before, my dad got a one-player game as the first game, so it was Zelda. So played that nonstop, feet crossed, watching it, feet fall asleep, can't stand up because I sat too long. Loved The Legend of Zelda, as I've said. Go back, and I'm like, oh my God. This is almost unplayable because of where they are now. And the new Zelda games, oh my God, so beautiful, gorgeous, awesome. Yeah, so I agree with what you're saying, but
and I should rephrase. I should rephrase. I love playing Mario Bros on the NES. Yes, I suck ass at the button timing with jumps, but it's a fun game, and I can get through it in about 5 minutes because I know the secret warps. When I played Metroid, I had a map. I do fully intend to play Zelda and Metroid like classic 80s notebook, drawing out the map.
You better not touch the internet. That was some bullshit.
I am only finding PDFs of the game manuals because that came with the game. The manual came with the game. That counts.
I was there. I know. Appa for some unknown reason, as opposed to getting the Nintendo with Super Mario Brothers, which, as far as I know, every single console did. No, your grandfather got the one with the cheat book guide. What the fuck good is the cheat book if you don't have any games for said system? Thanks, Dad.
But it's like I prefer playing because with all of the advancements of technology that have come after, with hindsight, it's like, yes, the Atari, no thank you. The NES, I'll play a select few games because they're worthwhile, and even though they're programmed on duct tape, they're genuinely good. And yes, they are a leap. They are leaps and bounds from the Atari. And then you get to the SNES, it's like, wow, you blew the NES out of the water. And then you get to the N64, and you're like, holy crap. And this is just Nintendo.
I don't know if you can see this. This white in my goatee, which will start going up here even more so. It's because of him. Let me get my finger so it's not...
do you want me to say E.T. looks goofy? Because I will say
it. No, nerddom. We went rambling on all sorts of things. We will definitely have a segment on the history of video games because my son's wrong. But let us know what you think in the comments below about video games, about theatrical versus streaming, about CG versus traditional. Let us know in the comments below. Nerd out.